lung, but the bad news was it had metastasized entirely to from head to toe. I had tumors in my neck, in my stomach, my liver, my bladder, my pancreas, and in my bones from head to toe.
Wow.
And I don't. From a large animal veterinarian, cattle and horse doctor in western Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma. And I went to college with this guy, and I knew his children and everybody. And, excuse me, he basically told me this crazy story. Blastoma wrapped around her brainstem, was told to go home and hire hospice. And he decided what the heck, started taking this stuff, and cleared herself in like 12 weeks. So that's a short-winded answer to the very next day. I started taking fenbendazole, and I'm taking the veterinary product. Bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But I added curcumin, bioavailable curcumin, and CBD oil and vitamin E to the regimen. And I went through a period of unknown. I went all through January and February and March and April of 2017, waiting to die, because the median life expectancy was 3 months, and I was not supposed to survive. But I felt fine. There were no symptoms. I felt great. I was, working again. I went in for a scan the first week of May of 17, so 3.5 months later, and I was all clear.
Wow.
So a previous PET scan that lit up like a Christmas tree from my neck to my pelvis and in my bones and in all my internal organs was now gone completely. What's even crazier is a PhD student at Arizona State University, Chinese, translated the blog into 2 different languages, and without even asking my permission, just did it, which I'm okay with. I don't care. I'm not trying to make money off this. He posted the blog in China. I didn't even know he did. And about 3 weeks ago, I got a call from the editor of Beijing News, which is owned by the Chinese government. And the guy spoke perfect English, almost with a British accent, it felt like, and told me that I was a rock star in China, and that the Chinese website had 3.5 million hits, and this is just nuts. And that he estimated that there were between 30 and 50,000 people in China on the protocol. And it's just mind-blowing, that this is happening, and it's totally out of control.
It's amazing, though. It's amazing, what you did. It's amazing that your friend, the veterinarian,
Well, it's, first of all, it's amazing. And let me tell you, and the scientist, and this is probably the most disgusting thing, I now believe the scientists have known this molecule would work this way for decades. 30, maybe 40 years they've known.
Yeah.
And some scientists just published a very comprehensive research report on the molecule and the 3 pathways by which it's killing cancer. But I know from having hundreds of people report in, I've got basically my own unofficial clinical trial going on with 1,000 patients. Thousands of patients, I should say. And about 5% of the people report mild diarrhea as the only side effect and some mild stomach discomfort. But if it's only 5%, I would say mathematically some percentage of those got it from something else, or something else caused the diarrhea and not this. So 400 milligrams daily, long-term safely. So it's very safe. The downside risk is virtually zero.
Yeah.
And so where I try to, when people, my most frustrating thing that's happened in the last 30 months is people calling me and saying, well, I waited too long. I just waited. I didn't believe the story until I was given no other hope, no other chance, and I waited too long. And that's very frustrating to me.
Yeah, it really is.
So here's the message I like to give to people is there's so many people taking this all over the world. And, kind of rule number one in medicine is don't make it worse. And this is not going to hurt you. The downside risk is virtually zero. But we now have, because we have 100 other success stories, we now have ample evidence that there's upside return here. Mm-hmm. And if the downside risk is zero and the upside is there, I can't promise you it'll cure you, but I can pretty much promise you it's not going to kill you.
And you're also doing these other things too, along with it. And have you changed your diet or anything?
I should have. I don't practice what I preach. I'm a real foodie, and I travel in business. And I eat at fine restaurants, and I love food, and so I haven't done a very good job of that. Although if I was advising people, I'd say, cut out all the sugar or anything that converts to sugar.
Right.
And that would be about my only advice. Although I don't follow it, so here we go.
Yeah. Well, but you're doing great, and you've got the science behind it. I mean, as far as the tests, you've done tests to show that there's no signs of the cancer anymore. Curcumin, can you?
Oh, by the way, my doctor at MD Anderson, I went in for my last scan just last week.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that there's new research that says curcumin also spikes healthy P53.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, I have to warn people and say, if you're going through chemo or you're in blood thinners, you probably ought to lay off the vitamin E and the curcumin and just go with the fenbendazole and CBD. But for the most part, I think it's a pretty healthy and safe regimen.
Now the CBD, we didn't talk about that. The CBD, how do you use that?
I do 25 milligrams a day underneath my tongue, sublingual. I believe it has separate cancer-killing properties by itself. That's not proven yet, but I believe that.
Yeah.
And I believe, it's not a panacea that's going to cure every cancer in every patient every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that the downside risk is zero, and there's ample evidence that it could help. So why not? Right?
Yeah. It probably, with anything, it takes a few months to really kind of get things to kick in.
Well, I think at least 12 weeks. I tell people don't even expect anything before 12 weeks.